toxic relationship, my definition of one is where the two of you kind of just bring out the worst in each other. And neither of y'all want to compromise, right? So y'all bring out the worst in each other. You don't want to compromise. You don't want to even try to see it the other's, way. You don't want to see their view on it. And you're both that way. And so you got two stubborn people just like head to head, like in a bullfight. And one of you's got to give. One of you has to be flexible. And I find that resistance creates resistance in life, and flexibility creates flexibility. And I find that that's true in almost every aspect of my life and in a lot of my clients' life. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my show. Janna here. Happy spring. It is nice and hot and muggy here in Austin, Texas. And there's two things I can't stand with weather, and that is wind and humidity. And I can do a little bit of humidity, but this has been like thick. Anyways, today I want to talk about toxic relationships. And, I've recently this season started to discuss a lot about narcissist and how to communicate with them, how to navigate it, how to spot it. And, any relationship with a narcissist is toxic. But today I want to speak specifically about toxic relationships in general. And this can be friendships, your marriage, your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, whatever. They don't have to be a narcissist for it to be a toxic relationship. So thought it would be important to talk about toxic relationships. I have a few friends right now who are either coming out of a toxic relationship, and they actually do happen to be with narcissists. And then I have one that's not. She's just coming out of or in a toxic relationship. And, they lean on me for advice, and I give advice when asked, right? Just because I'm a mindset coach or nutritionist doesn't mean I'm just dishing out my 2 cents everywhere I go. People know what I do. They know my areas of expertise. And if they want to ask and they want my opinion, then I'll happily give it. But yeah, I don't just walk around dishing it out. If people want my opinion, they're going to ask, right? And the thing is that when someone close to us is ready to make a change, they kind of let us know because they come and they ask our opinion or for our advice. And so just on that note, I think it's important to say that if you have someone in your life right now who is in a toxic relationship, but maybe they don't see it the way you do, and you just really want to open their eyes to it, the more that we try to get them to open their eyes to it, the more blind to it they are. My advice there is to let them figure it out on their own. And honestly, the less that you try to open their eyes to it, the faster that they're going to see it. So let's talk about the truth about toxic relationships today. The truth about toxic relationships is that ultimately they explode, they implode, they don't work. And I do believe that there are healthy relationships that can turn toxic. And I do believe if you both put in a lot of hard work and effort, and you're both cognizant and aware of it, you can get it back to a healthy state. But oftentimes a toxic relationship kind of starts off that way pretty quickly anyways, right? There's always a really fast, seems like deep connection in the beginning. And this goes for friendships as well. I think about some of my past friendships with girls where it was just, we just connected and just hit it off right off the bat in the beginning, and formed a very close friendship really fast. And, it might have went strong for a year or so. And then just the littlest thing happened that showed their true colors. I've had that happen too many times in my life. And so I always say that our best teachers in life are our own life experiences if we allow them to be. So everybody goes through shit, right? We all go through shit in life. Your age is not what gives you wisdom, and it's not your experience that gives you wisdom. It is you choosing to learn and grow from that experience. That's where the wisdom is obtained. So when I speak of toxic relationships and friendships, I'm speaking from my true wisdom from experience that I chose to learn from. Because it's really, really hard when a relationship goes toxic. And, people ask, do you think it takes two people? And I do. Now, it doesn't mean that both people are making it toxic, but it does mean that the other person is putting up with it and staying, right? So that's how they contribute is by putting up with it. As a mom of three, when my oldest, right, like first time mom with my oldest kid, right, it's my first kid, and as they start to go through all the different little stages they do, like 2 years old and 3 years old, and things like that, you always hear people say you got to teach them quick because the longer you take to teach them something, or the more chances that you give them, they understand those boundaries, right? They know, well, it normally takes mom about 7 times of repeating herself to me before she gets upset. So I know she's only told me 4 times. I know I still got 3 more times at least before my mom gets upset and makes me listen. That's just a known fact. That's just how kids are. And the same thing goes though to any new friendship and relationship in our lives. Even if they're not toxic, right? It's called boundaries. They're boundaries. How much can that person take? How much is that person going to put up with? And for people who don't have much of a backbone, or just kind of let people walk over them really easy, this is a tough one, right? Because they are the most scared of boundaries, of having them in their lives. And I think the reason is because their biggest fear is to lose someone. These are typically people who just really hold on to every friendship and relationship, and they don't want to lose any of them, right? And if when they do, they really take it hard, and they really think it's just, it's something that they did or they didn't do. And so they don't really like to put boundaries in place, but that's really, really important, because if not, you're going to have a lot of toxicity in your life when it comes to friendships and relationships. So, the truth about toxic relationships is that one, you either both recognize it and you recognize your part and you fix it, or two, one of you has to walk away. It is, I know that sounds so easy to say, and the 20 something year old me would never have taken that advice because I was stubborn, but the 42-year-old me, that's who I am today. I never ever again in my life will put up with any sort of toxicity in a relationship or friendship. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It just means that now I recognize it, and I don't put up with it. It's either shit or get off the pot in my life, right? And not everyone earns a seat at the table. And, a toxic relationship, my definition of one is where the two of you kind of just bring out the worst in each other. And neither of y'all want to compromise, right? So y'all bring out the worst in each other. You don't want to compromise. You don't want to even try to see it the other's, way. You don't want to see their view on it. And you're both that way. And so you got two stubborn people just like head to head, like in a bullfight. And one of you's got to give. One of you has to be flexible. And I find that resistance creates resistance in life, and flexibility creates flexibility. And I find that that's true in almost every aspect of my life and in a lot of my clients' life. When a person is flexible, it makes the other person kind of loosen up and breathe a little bit and be a little more flexible as well. However, when a person is super just like hardcore, this is my stance, this is what it is, I'm not going to budge, it kind of makes the other person standoffish too. So resistance creates resistance. And that happens in healthy relationships sometimes when you get two, type A personalities and people that are just both very independent, strong willed, strong minded, not narcissist, but just very strong individuals, and that all of those attributes that make them successful in their business world can sometimes be a hindrance or downfall in their personal world. And when it's that way, it makes the other person kind of bow up too, right? And not always, but if you have two strong people together, that can happen. And one of you's got to loosen up. And so my best advice is to, if neither one of y'all want to see it the other's way or listen or try to understand, um, then you need to focus on what is your net goal in this relationship. Where do you see this friendship or this relationship in X amount of months or years, in the long term? And if it is sustainable and with that person and they're in their life, your life, and you're happy and having a really happy, healthy relationship, then maybe if that answer is yes, then that will help you to just maybe be a little more flexible and understanding, because sometimes that's all it takes is one person making that change, and it shows the other person the same. And I think sometimes that's really all that's needed is there's got to be one person, and you can say give in. Give in though is where you're saying, what I think and what I want and how I feel doesn't matter. It's all about them. That's called giving in, giving up. I'm talking about there's got to be one of you who's open and willing to bend a little, to move a little, to be, flexible. And when that happens, then you allow doors to open in your life and in your relationships. And so a toxic relationship is really, really tough because a lot of the times there's strong emotions and feelings there, but y'all just can't get along. You just don't communicate. It's like there's a huge roadblock in your communication lines, and it makes it really, really hard. And communication is key. Communication is huge, and it's everything. If you do not have good communication with your partner, your best friend, whomever it is you're in a relationship with, it's not going to work, and it just won't. And you have to make sure the person that you're with is adaptable, and they're willing to grow and move and learn with you, because if not, you're going to grow apart. You're going to fall apart. And I know for me personally, after everything I went through in my, last marriage, a tumultuous divorce, and the ultimate betrayal, it was very hard for me to get into a serious relationship again. And, a serious relationship, it just, they happen when you least expect it. I most certainly was not looking for one, didn't want one, and for a long time. So this, really came out of nowhere, and I wasn't prepared. And are we ever really prepared? I'm not really sure. But my point was that I put a guard up fairly quickly because I was just like, man, I haven't had good luck in the relationship world. And I just went through the worst betrayal ever, and the worst, you know, um, tumultuous divorce. And I can't even imagine being in a relationship. And my last one was so toxic. That was my biggest fear. But I had to also balance that fine line, because I couldn't have my big fears allow any toxicity to enter because of my fears. In other words, I couldn't be so strong and steadfast and just like set in my ways because I was in fear of getting hurt again, that I created toxicity in a relationship because I wasn't willing to move, to bend, to be flexible with my partner. And that's a really hard road to navigate. And what I have learned through this process and going through that and in being in a healthy relationship is that you have to focus on what is your net goal. Because I'm a very independent, stubborn person, and so is my husband, but not in a toxic way. We love each other very, very much, and our communication is great. And at the same time, we both can get very stubborn. And so what I have learned, and then I try to instill in our marriage, is what is our net goal? Like, yeah, we don't agree on this. We have to agree to disagree, but at the same time, you can't let it bother you, right? Because then that's just like an elephant in the room, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger until you're suffocated, right? So the thing is, it's like, what is it, honey, that we ultimately want at the end of the day? That's really what matters. And I think people lose sight of what really matters in a relationship. Sometimes we get too stuck on trying to prove a point, get our way, be in control, just, stubborn, that we lose sight of what's really important. Because let me tell you something. If you love that person and you treasure that person, and you respect that person so damn much that you're having a hard time with, then maybe you just need to remember why you love them so much. Maybe you need to focus on what it is that you want. And if that's a relationship that's important enough for you to keep, then it's important enough for you to maybe be a little flexible, to be understanding, to try to see it their way. Empathy, communication, and understanding go a really long way in any successful relationship and friendship, business partnership. Those three things are everything. Of course, respect, but you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to be empathetic towards one another, and you got to be able to understand. You don't have to feel the same way they feel, but you just need to understand that's how they feel. This is why they feel that way. And I promise you, when you do, it really, really helps. And at the end of the day, if the person that's, there's toxicity with them, then that's something that you have to figure out what you want to do. Because if someone's not willing to change, then maybe they don't love you enough and respect you enough and appreciate you enough to do what it takes to make the relationship work. And my friends, it takes two people. One person's not enough for change. It won't work. It takes two people. And fuck this bullshit of we each got to give 50-50. No, you each got to give 100% every damn day. And if all you can give today is 30%, you give 100% of your 30% and make it a point in the relationship that when you talk to each other and you say, hey, we're not always going to have good days. We're not always going to have 100% to give. But if when you're having a bad day, tell me, say, honey, I'm not having a good day today. All I can give is 30%, but I'm going to give 100% of that 30%, but I'm going to need you to help pick up that other 70% if you can, and vice versa. Try it. Stop expecting so much out of each other that it's unachievable, unattainable. No one's fucking perfect. I feel like sometimes we treat our partner, our husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, I feel like sometimes we are short with them and more impatient with them than we are other people in our life, because we're just like, oh, they're there. They'll always be there. We're married. We're in a relationship. They're stuck. I fucking know. Let's get our shit together. I'm guilty of doing that sometimes because my husband is my safe space. My husband is a person I can just completely let my guard down and be 100% authentically myself. But that doesn't mean that I can be a bitch or I need to be a bitch. I need to give him the same best of me that I give to my best friend, to my good friend, to a colleague. I need to do the same for him and vice versa. So, my friends, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to my show. If you're listening on YouTube, I would love it if you'd go and subscribe and rate on a podcasting platform as well. It helps me out. And I love hearing and seeing your replies and your comments. So thank you so very much. I will talk to you soon.